All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to this evening's webinar. My name is Emily Spranger. I am an academic trainer in the Center for Teaching and Learning. And we're very thrilled to be able to help partner with SOHP and the IPE collaborative group. So just a very few brief housekeeping items. The chat is available for you to speak. So if you would like to have conversation or ask any questions that you'd like to participate in there, we welcome that. We are, of course, recording this webinar and we will place it in our CTL Webinar Resource Center for future reference. And we are in a meeting format this evening, so you are welcome to turn your cameras on should you like to. If you'd like to keep them off, that is completely fine as well too. And there may be some time for some Q&A as time permits, where you could raise your hand and we can allow you to speak. So thank you so much all for being here. And I want to turn this over to one of our fabulous students, Miss Tabitha Myatt.
Good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I would like to thank you all for taking time to join us for our monthly IP session. It's always a joy to have such a collective group in collaboration to discuss some of the key, important elements of our healthcare system here in the United States, and most importantly, throughout our educational journeys. So we have a wonderful, wonderful expert panel that's here to support us in learning more this evening about person-centered care and practices in the healthcare system. As Emily stated, we encourage you guys to submit any questions that you may have via the chat. Again, it will be recorded. We do encourage your feedback at the end of the session, just so we'll know how things are going so far as the sessions that we provide you on a monthly basis. Just a heads up, the month of December, of course, is all about holidays and families and celebrations thereof. So we will not be having an IP session for the month of December. However, we ask that you govern yourselves to the comments, to some of the information that you guys may receive via your email and or chats about upcoming IP sessions for the new year 2023. We are very excited to bring you guys new information, innovative practices throughout the healthcare community. So without further ado, I'm going to present to you the National University Planetree Silver Designation panel. They're here to promote person-centered care, sponsored by the SOHP IPE Advisory Committee. So what I'm going to do at this time is welcome Dr. Gloria McNeil, who's going to kick off the panel this evening. I just want to preface by saying we have so many different panelists here that are going to be showing into us this evening with extensive backgrounds. So I'm excited to hear more from them. At this time, Dr. McNeil, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Tabitha. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Dean Jones, Dr. Mast, members of the IPE committee, faculty, students, and guests. It is our distinct pleasure to share with you National University's journey to becoming Planetree certified. Our discussion today will center around the Planetree Silver Designation, promoting person-centered care among students, faculty, and staff. Now I'm stuck. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm joined today by the National University Planetree Council on Person-Centeredness, Dr. Peggy Reinke, Professor and Director of the Baccalaureate Healthcare Administration Program, Dr. Ricardo Parker, Professor and Director of the Allied Health Program, Dr. Patrick Schultz, Professor and Director of the Health Informatics Program, Professor Washock, Director of the RN to BSN Program, Dr. LaDon Jones, Professor and Director of the Masters of Healthcare Administration Program, Ms. Zayamara Flores, Account Specialist for the National University System, and I am Dr. Gloria McNeil, Associate Vice President for Community Affairs and Health. And now I'll turn it over to Professor Washak for furthering our discussion.
Thank you. To start our discussion today, the Planetree Initiative was formed at NU in 2016. NU faculty administration had identified a need to integrate a person-centered approach. The journey started in the former School of Health and Human Services with leadership from faculty, community partners, and students. This school-wide process evaluated many areas within the university, identified 5 drivers, and initiated the changes, resulting in a silver designation within the Planetree organization. The Planetree model has provided students and alumni with competitive advantages and equipped the participants for the future. These equipped opportunities were to strengthen interprofessional skills, leadership skills, collaboration, and networking. I'm now going to hand it over to Dr. Schultz, who will elaborate on the Planetree certification journey.
Okay, next slide, please. So in terms of Planetree institutional certification, National University is recognized as the first academic institution to achieve silver status. But in fact, we're actually the first academic institution worldwide to achieve Planetree certification. As you'll hear later, the site visit by the Planetree Institute, they upgraded us to silver status based on how well we put together our program and the Planetree certification requirements. This represents an achievement of organizational culture. And I think even more, what it really represents is the ability of the organization to change its culture. This recognizes commitment, because without commitment, we're not going to be able to get to where we want to go. And as you've already heard, we want to go gold. We recognize, or Planetree institutional certification recognizes the excellence in person. And notice there that we said person and not patient, although it started off initially as patient student-centered care. It provides an operational framework for sustaining change. And that's important to us because you know that these kind of concepts of how we relate to one another, how we do that best, can change over time. Next slide, please. So you can see here, National University off to the right there. We are the leader in terms of the Planetree Higher Education Pilot Council for being able to shepherd other universities that are interested in adopting the Planetree principles. The first 3 universities that we worked with or are working with would be the University of New Haven, Southern Connecticut, and St. Ambrose. But we're very pleased and proud to welcome a 4th academic partner, the Al Musa College of Health Sciences in Saudi Arabia. So you can see that this extends itself well beyond the borders of the United States. Let me turn this back over to Dr. Ranke. Dr. Ranke?
Thank you very much, Dr. Schultz. As the first Planetree certified school in the world, National University championed the committee that wrote, vetted, and provided examples of deliverables to fulfill the higher education criteria. This work has been implemented as the pilot criteria for Planetree's person-centered care higher education certification. You might be wondering how we devised the criteria. Well, in collaboration with Planetree, we formed an executive committee that met regularly for over a year. The executive committee consisted of Doctors Gloria McNeil, Ricardo Parker, myself, and a Planetree executive, and 3 universities eager to join the designation of a person-centered care university. As Dr. Schultz had mentioned, the 3 universities that joined our committee were South Connecticut State University, the University of New Haven, and St. Ambrose University, which actually implemented an Institute for Person-Centered Care. Next slide, please. The Planetree Person-Centered Care Higher Education Certification Pilot is organized around 5 drivers, and each driver has 5 sub-drivers. These drivers present a high-level depiction of what it takes to create a culture of person-centered care. Each driver has measurable elements that are associated with each of the criteria as an explicit accounting of what is required to fully satisfy each criterion. And each driver is associated with the point system that is equally distributed among the 5 drivers for a total of 200 points. These drivers are, number 1, create organizational structures that promote engagement. The submitting organization must provide evidence that show the organization is structured to break down barriers between faculty, staff, and students, and to engage other communities of interest as partners. Driver number 2, connect values, strategies, and actions. The submitting organization must provide evidence that show there is cohesion between what we do, our behaviors and tools, and why we do it, our values and mission, and what we teach, our coursework. Driver number 3, implement practices that promote partnerships. The submitting organization must provide evidence that show practices are in place to build reciprocal relationships and empower students to be engaged learners and take ownership over their educational pursuits. Driver number 4, know what matters. The submitting organization must provide evidence that show the learning community strives to promote compassion, inclusion, health, and well-being for all. And lastly, driver number 5, use evidence to drive improvement. The submitting organization must provide evidence that show organizational capacity to create measurable change. Certification levels such as bronze, silver, and gold are defined by the number of points earned by an applicant. The School of Health and Human Services, under Dr. McNeil's leadership, submitted for the bronze certification after a lot of work. However, with the exceptional work of many, we were granted the silver designation instead. Now we're going for the gold, and we need you as professors, staffs, and students. Please join us in this journey. I will now turn the time over to Ms. Flores.
Thank you, Dr. Ranke. So let me tell you a little bit more about how our students are involved with Planetree here at National University. The Student Alumni Planetree Committee currently exists because National University, as you have heard, has achieved silver Planetree certification. What that means is that our healthcare program's curriculum teaches our students about the person-centered principles that Planetree embodies. Through this committee, we are trying to build a better future for our students, our university, and our community by implementing the drivers and principles of Planetree into our environment. Our students in this committee engage in activities such as volunteering at schools and in the community, and we create partnerships with other organizations to provide our members with leadership and networking experiences. Another goal of this committee is to promote student wellness. We've been able to achieve this by completing some initiatives that were done in the past, and one of them was the Zen Den Student Lounge. Our members were able to put together and raise some money to create a Zen Den space in our Rancho Bernardo campus, where students were encouraged to go in when they were feeling overwhelmed. The purpose of the space was to help them relax. And in this space, students had tea available for them, meditation tools, and a compliment jar to help them build up their self-esteem. Another initiative that was completed was to provide students with essential oils in 2 of our campuses, the Rancho Bernardo and the Kearney Mesa campus. Students and faculty had the option of getting lavender or peppermint essential oils in a roller form to make it a grab and go, simple thing to grab. The reason why peppermint and lavender were chosen was because these 2 essential oils have shown to help with increased focus and decreased stress, which is what students want to have while they're doing their courses. We also had workshops for Reiki and aromatherapy for anybody that was interested. And we collaborated with other committees to have social events for our students so they could network and interact with more students outside of just our Planetree committee members. We created a formal partnership with Rachel's House, a women's shelter that provided our members with a unique volunteer opportunities that included psych and community health training. And in 2019, between 10 to 20 members of the Planetree committee was able to attend the annual Planetree conference. And this was an unparalleled opportunity for our students because they had access to speakers and hospital leaders that wanted to help them with their careers in the healthcare space. We also provide our members an opportunity to present on stage at the conference and to show their research posters as well. And as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we partnered with other student clubs. We participated in Holiday Cheers, and we partnered with the National University International Student Association to connect, again, our students with the community as well. And now I will pass it to Dr. Jones, who will tell you more about our lessons learned.
Thank you, Zamora. Hello, everyone. This is a time of great change in higher education. And as an organizational psychologist, when I think about Planetree, I think about culture. And I think about how can we create and maintain a healthy culture. Culture is the lifeblood of an organization. You can't easily see it or touch it. You can't taste it, but it's very, very powerful. It's in the molecules. And I think about how can we navigate change. Many of us would say that we embrace change, but I like to think about the wisdom of my grandmother who said, nobody likes change but a wet baby. And I think change is the only constant, right? We have to embrace change if we want to stay relevant. So in terms of lessons learned, there are a couple of positives here that I wanted to highlight. First of all, greater faculty, staff, student collegiality, and closer mentorship relationships between students and faculty. And I can't really think of a better example than the speaker right before me, and that's Zamora. Zamora, of course, as a staff and as a student, is on our leadership team. And I can tell you that we have received so much in terms of wisdom and insights from her, and it certainly has made, I think, our Planetree effort a much more positive one. Also, another lesson is that we've seen enhanced career opportunities for our students, especially at Sharp Healthcare, which is a Planetree designated healthcare organization. We've seen those students gain hotel committee seats. We also have seen some postgraduate employment with some of those students as well. On the other side, there are some opportunities for improvement. You know, lessons can also inform us as to how we can improve. And somebody said the biggest room is the room for improvement. And if you don't know your bad news, I think it was Bill Gates, you're going out of business. So we want to understand how can we be better? How can we do better than we're doing now? And so hopefully this session will get insights from you tonight and also later as to how we can continue to improve and make our Planetree effort one that is successful. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. McNeil.
So thank you very much, Dr. Jones. So as we indicated, we had administrators from Planetree International actually come to our campus, and they formed focus groups with students, faculty, staff, and administration. And they prepared a gap analysis, which they called an organizational assessment. And they showed us what we were doing right and where we needed improvement. And so we spent the next 6 to 9 months working on those areas needing improvement. We submitted a 500-page self-study, and Planetree International site visitors came back again, and this time assessed where we were and determined that even though we had submitted for bronze, we had exceeded those criteria, and they moved us forward to silver. However, our goal is always to reach the gold standard. So here is our timeline from beginning to end. And we invite your participation to join us in achieving that gold status. So on that very eventful day, here we are at the Planetree International Conference before 800 other medical centers receiving our award of recognition. So I'm flanked by Dr. David Solomon on the left, Professor Linda Macabre, Dr. What's her name escaping me? The Planetree International President, Dr. Susan Frampton, sorry, and myself, and then Ms. Christy Schumacher, and of course, Dr. Peggy Ranke. So in addition to achieving institutional certification, Planetree established another opportunity for individuals to be recognized, and they established the Fellows in Person-Centered Care, where upon achieving this certification, you may place the credentials FPCC after your name. There are criteria associated with earning this credit, and on their website, they have detailed application process, etc. But you must demonstrate that you've earned a total of 20 credits in order to achieve this recognition. I am more than proud to say that Dr. Tyler Smith and Dr. Peggy Ranke were the first Planetree International Fellows in the world, representing now individualized person-centered certification. Now I'll turn the discussion over to Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. This is an image of Planetree's impressive website. Planetree has partnered with 800 organizations across the continuum of care in 30 countries to implement person-centered quality improvement approaches. To facilitate the building of competencies and capacity in person-centered care, National University has unlimited access to a diverse set of educational resources and support via the Planetree website. And that includes person-centered learning network events, over 50 webinars, My Planetree, which is a member-only website, and on-site community. We have articles and research libraries, hundreds of patient-centered practices, policies, and resources, patient-centered e-magazine. There's a quarterly advancement of strategies and practices in the field, and Planetree's annual International Person-Centered Care Conference. It has a series of at least a lot of archived presentations. There's a collaboration mechanism that includes webinars, patient-preferred practices, peer-reviewed journals and articles, and monthly initiative meetings. Students, staff, and faculty have access to a plethora of resources through Planetree. For example, Planetree's houses a library replete with resources, blogs, and discussion pages are offered. A section of posted international and local events, and access to international members. Additionally, Planetree offers a community for networking, including international networking, consulting opportunities, educational resources, publishing and presentation opportunities, special interest groups, and an annual conference. Planetree is in the business of person-centered care across the professional landscape. Their website is an open door for us, for National University, as we move forward. May I have the next slide, please? This is our exciting newsletter. At National University, we publish our own newsletter, and we have recently published our winter newsletter, and I believe it has been distributed to everyone for you to peruse. To better inform our National University community, we created this NU Planetree newsletter as a quarterly publication that provides updates and highlights on the various activities, scheduled events, and opportunities that document and promote both Planetree and National University's demonstration of person-centered care. Certain NU Planetree highlighted activities include networking opportunities, partnership opportunities, media coverage, including events and in our publications. This newsletter connects faculty, staff, and students to what we're about here at National University, and that is developing, implementing, and practicing person-centered care within our personal, professional, and academic life experiences. Thank you, Dr. Mill. I'll turn the discussion back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Parker. And now it's time for our question and answer session. So I will serve as the moderator and I will pose specific questions to our panelists. So Dr. Parker, this question is for you. What is the Planetree International model of person-centered care?
Thank you for that question. Planetree International has long been recognized as the preeminent entity networking over 800 organizations in 30 countries. In the conferral of bronze, silver, and gold person-centered care recognition, certification, and designation awards. The Planetree International model is the driving force in creating the standard of person-centered care to improve organizational performance and outcomes, to improve staff and engagement and performance, to improve person and family engagement and outcomes, and to improve health of the health of the community. Person-centered care creates positive impressions and satisfying experiences, but beyond that, it improves lives. Person-centered care creates workplaces that energize and inspire joy at work. It improves health outcomes and unites communities around health and wellness. Planetree Certification for excellence in person-centered care represents the highest mark of achievement for creating an organizational culture that engages patients, families, staff, and the community to improve overall health and well-being. This evidence-based program provides a structured pathway and operational framework for establishing the systems and processes necessary to sustain a culture that changes across our organization. Although Planetree has pioneered a structure for personalizing and humanizing the healthcare experience for patients and their family, it has recently begun to promote person-centered principles within the academic setting, thanks to National University, across the fields of study and beyond just the health-related disciplines. Thank you, Dr. Camille.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Dr. Jones, this question is for you. What is the value of establishing a partnership with Planetree International?
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. I would say there are several areas of value. The first, of course, is the accolades, really. It's not the most important, but it's nice and it's important milestone in that National University is the first academic institution in the world to achieve status as a Planetree Silver recognition. And of course, we're not satisfied with that. We want to move to the gold because it's really a recognition of excellence. The second has to do with the fact that it has a positive impact on our mission, vision, values, and ultimately our culture. Because as I think you've heard a number of our presenters talk about the value of our organizational culture. It's easy to damage, but it's very hard to establish. And I think having a very concerted effort and having the full organization focus behind a set of values and drivers is really what makes the organization and that culture valuable and resilient. So that would be the value, in my view, is to make sure that our culture is healthy, it's able to maintain itself, and no matter whether the winds of change blow left or right, or up or down, our culture will maintain itself and be of strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Professor Washock, this question is for you. What are the successful outcomes associated with the National University Planetree International Partnership?
Thank you. We've had so many outcomes, and our journey started in 2016, as we talked about during our presentation, and we identified the drivers that helped us create the culture of change. And the university adopted the PCC model, or the Planetree model. As a result, we were able to form the executive committee, which is here today speaking to you, the curriculum committee, which created curriculum that followed the Planetree concepts, strategies and outcome process committee, the professional development culture committee, communication committee, student alumni committee, which Zayamara presented today, the 2 NU faculty becoming the first fellows, which was presented today. Also, other outcomes outside of the university were the holiday cheer event, the public health day event, planning of white coat ceremonies, community award events, school summits, vendor machines with healthy choice options, the Zen room, the aromatherapy, partnerships with Sharp Coronado Hospital. That was the first healthcare to become Planetree. Sharp Planeshare partnership created tuition discounts, unlimited education resources via the Planetree website, webinars, archives, websites, newsletters, and magazines, and also opportunities for faculty and students to present at conferences outside of the NU University. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Washow. Dr. Ranke, what are the future directions for this partnership with Planetree International?
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. That's a great question. Each year, a cadre of students, faculty, and staff attend the Planetree International Conference, where we engage in scholarly activities to co-lead podium, poster, and podcast presentations. This level of exposure has elevated our profile among an international sector of attendees. We will continue to showcase our work via attendance at the annual conference, with the potential to collaborate with over 800 Planetree organizations in 30 countries. Let me say that again, 800 Planetree organizations in 30 countries. We will use this platform to enlarge our national and international footprint in the dissemination of educational solutions and opportunities. Lastly, from the vantage point of being the first academic institution worldwide to achieve Planetree certification, we will maintain our prominence as the leader in assisting other academic institutions in their journey to achieve Planetree certification. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranke. Dr. Schultz, what can I do to get involved?
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. I think in terms of getting involved, first step could be to send an email to Dr. McNeil. Her email is in the chat box, and indicate your interest, and that will put you into the group here, and you can come to our meetings and discuss with us how you want to practice or put into practice the concepts of person-centered care. You could also, and it's something that I did as well, you could become familiar with the Planetree website. Dr. Parker gave us an excellent review of that. And in addition, the newsletter, so that by becoming familiar with the website and the newsletter, you'll be able to learn and appreciate more the concept of person-student centered approaches. And I want to follow up on that a little bit, because when this was first presented, some of the faculty saw this as a challenge in terms of adoption. And I was one of those faculty members. And the reason why was because when it was first presented to me, it was presented as patient-centered care. And so I pigeonholed the idea into healthcare. Oh, this is all about healthcare. I don't understand how it fits the university. The hospitals can run this program if that's what, if it's patient-centered care and it's just about patients. I didn't really understand the concepts of what Planetree was trying to get across. As I became more aware of what Planetree and its concepts were, and my colleagues began to discuss with me the value that they saw of it, patient-centered care all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, switched to person-centered care. As soon as it switched to person-centered care, it took it out of the healthcare environment. And all of a sudden, I started looking at this process in a very different way. Because what I began to understand was, wow, student-centered, what would that be? Student-centered curricula, student-centered, what the whole person, just as we're doing right now. This fits our current paradigm of taking care of the whole student, so to speak. And I began to then switch from patient-centered care to this concept of person-centered care. And what I started to think about was the idea of how can we use these person-centered care concepts to be able to put into practice in our university, not just the student-centric approach, but an approach that would involve faculty, staff, alumni, everyone. And what do I mean by that? If you think about what person-centered care really means, at least to me, what it tells me is that this is a process by which we can increase inclusion and respect for everyone. And it began to dawn on me that this process here actually is telling me what we say and how we say it to each other really matters. And if you bring those person-centered care concepts to your daily life, to your family life, to the educational life, I think what you'll find is that the process allows a more inclusive approach and respect for one another on all levels. So today, while initially I dragged my feet a little bit in terms of the challenge put in front of us, today I'm a very, very strong supporter and leader in terms of this person/student-centered care. Thank you, Dr. McNeil.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. Thank you for sharing. Ms. Flores, how can students and alumni get involved?
Yes, they're more than welcome to reach out to myself. My email is xflores@nu.edu. I will put it in the chat shortly. And we can talk about the role that you would like to take in the committee as either a student, active student, or alumni. And we can talk about future events that we might want to bring to our students at National University and try to make any changes to the student experience at National University. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll take the last question. If I have an idea, who should I contact? And that would be myself. So gmcneil@nu.edu. Our committee meets the fourth Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And if you send me an email, we'll send you the Zoom link and invite you to participate in our discussions and in helping us move forward to the gold standard. Okay, so with that, we will open up the questions to the larger audience, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Awesome. What a wonderful panel discussion. Very inspiring. Many questions come to mind as you guys were presenting. Dr. Schultz, I was thinking on the same lines as you were, being in the healthcare world around person-centered practices and care, and how it correlates and transitions to universities and students. And when we talk about whole person and person-centeredness in general, it definitely puts a different flavor, a twist to it. So I can appreciate this insight this evening and information that you guys have shared about Planetree. We do have several questions here in the chat. And I'm going to scroll back up to the very beginning. And Veronica, if you get there before I do, she usually bats up. So let's see here. The first
Certainly.
one. You
go for it. You got to it.
All right. Comes from Stephen. I'm going to put you on the spot, Stephen. So fill in if I misinterpret your question here. But he's asking, does this certification extend to the MSW or the MAFP programs? Is it likely to in the future? If so, are you looking for additional members of the student/alumni Planetree Committee?
Great questions, Stephen. Thank you so much. And absolutely, this is a universal international credential. So it's open to anyone who meets the criteria. And a detailed application process is on the Planetree website. With regard to students and alumni, we welcome your participation. And I'll turn it over to Zyamara to add a little bit more detail.
Yes, of course, Stephen, if you would like to get more involved within the Planetree Student Committee, reach out to me and we can talk about what role you would like to take on and come up with new initiatives that our committee can bring to the university. Thank you.
Did you say that committee meets the fourth Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific time? Is that committee that meets at that time?
It is the total Planetree committee that meets the fourth Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. The student committee meets at a different time.
Yes,
Zyamara?
we meet usually on the third Monday of every month at 7 p.m. And I can send you that either to Veronica or Tabitha, whoever sends that email out.
Zamora, is that Pacific time, the 7 p.m.?
Pacific time, correct. Thank you. Yes, Pacific time.
Thank you all.
We have another question here. How is this similar or different than the wellness room, part of, and this is from Deborah Edmond. How is this similar, different than the wellness room, part of the restorative justice program provided to high school students at many area high schools? The wellness room is staffed by counselors. It provides low lighting, comfortable, and I'm scrolling, excuse me, comfortable furniture and stress relieving items such as stress balls.
I think the question, oh, sorry, Dr. Manio.
Yes,
I think the question was in regards to the Zenden initiative that the student committee completed. And I want to say it's very similar to the wellness room that you're talking about. It was just a extra service, if you will, that we wanted to provide specifically to nursing students, because that's where in the Rancho Bernardo campus, that's where our nursing program is. It was the first step to try and implement it in other campuses. Unfortunately, because all of this happened prior to the pandemic. So because many campuses are still shut down at the moment, we haven't been able to replicate it yet, but hopefully in the future, once our campuses in San Diego start opening up again, then we will try to replicate that again in the campuses, or hopefully we can find a way to make it an online, version of it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. I was going to ask about what about a virtual, soon to be metaverse world capacity for this. Sounds good. All right. Let's see what else we have here in the chat. He said a lot of congratulations. Great. We have the web addresses that were provided here for Planetree and the chat. Thank you, Dr. Enke. Congratulations from, and excuse me for the name here, Majad. Congratulations to the team. How do you recommend faculty, how can faculty get involved and move towards Planetree certification?
Excellent question. So we invite you to join us on our fourth Wednesday of the month meetings, at which we form our committees and our committee structure. We do have mission and goals for each of our committees, subject to change. And so we welcome your participation as we take this journey to gold.
Dr. McNeil, that was from Madge, and she signed off, but she sent me a chat and I gave her your email address. So she'll probably reach out to you.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome.
Going along with that, what barriers or constraints have you guys experienced in your effort to get this silver certification?
Yeah, so it does require a lot of heavy lifting to meet the criteria. And that is a little challenging, especially since COVID-19 hit us, because it does require the investment members of our committees to make this happen. In addition, we do have to think about some fundraising initiatives because, as is true of most certifying bodies, there is a financial cost associated with achieving the certification. So those have been the biggest barriers to moving it forward.
Right.
And what are some things that have helped create that have helped you overcome and mitigate those barriers, like the financial, like the time commitment? What has helped you?
So we've been able to, in the past, allow faculty to put this on their FDPs. I think it's a new name now, but in their reappointment and appointment strategies, they can identify the fact that they are members of the committee. Maybe they have a leadership position on the committee, but in addition, it meets their scholarship requirements. So many of our faculty have published in Planetree publications. They presented poster and podium presentations at our international conferences, and they've aligned themselves with international partners. So I think that has been really the driving force, our ability to make a difference around the world.
It sounds like then Stephen's question of, has the investment already proven valuable? It sounds like that is a resounding yes then.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So a follow-up question about commitment, time commitment. What does that look like for student and faculty?
So I'll speak to faculty and then I'll let Sayamara speak to students. So the committees, so the subcommittees of our Planetree organization here at National University meet other than the Wednesday 8 a.m. And so that's an individual process and it depends on the goals of that committee. So some of those committees are very robust in that they plan annual events. And so what that takes and putting all of that together and strategizing to make that occur. Some of the committees establish partnerships with schools, other hospitals, and joint ventures established in that manner. Our students are able to sit on hospital committees that are typically the SHARP entity has allowed us to open up opportunities for students to sit on hospital committees and also to guarantee them clinical placement after graduation. So it all depends. You can give as much or as little of the time that you can commit, but every participation and participant is welcome.
Yes, and for the student commitment, similar, we meet once a month, as mentioned, and for somebody to be an active member, that we call active member, they have to at least attend 2 of our meetings, be involved in our subcommittees that we have, and it depends on how busy sometimes we get, depending on the project that we might want to work as a committee. It can be very time consuming. For example, I want to say the Zenden initiative that we had was a little more time consuming than the oils that we were able to provide. So it just depends, but we try not to take too much time from our members, but we just try to give them opportunities to grow as students and as hopefully in their healthcare, if they're going to healthcare programs, but just grow with the Planetree principles.
Awesome.
And also,
Yeah,
I'd like to add,
Go ahead.
thank
Go
you,
ahead,
Dr.
Dr. Wendy.
I'd like to add that it's fun. It's fun working with your colleagues and students and staff, all of us together. It's fun going to conferences together. It's fun enjoying each other's company, working hard together, and rubbing shoulder to shoulder with each other. It just creates a very congenial atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. And I think this piggybacks to our links to Stephen's question here about, is there any potential for help with practicum placement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we move into the metaverse, there's even going to be more opportunity to collaborate with our international partners because geographical boundaries will not matter anymore. So we're building that relationship as well.
Does anyone have any additional questions for the panel?
It looks like Dr. Mess just added one.
Oh.
In addition to nursing, what have you observed and experienced in terms of professions who are most active in person-centered initiatives?
Good question.
So the departments within the school, the former School of Health and Human Services, were very active. So that included the Public Health Department, Allied Health, Informatics. Let me see. Help me out, guys.
Data analytics.
Data analytics. Did I say
A lot of
informatics? Sorry.
a lot of the university joined in just to create a better environment too, that was led by staff or students, and they would bring their ideas to improve. And one of the other simple one was putting markers for walking at lunchtime and creating a walk group. I mean, it was anything and everything to just make the environment more conducive and promote person needs. The healthy vending machine initiative. We went with anything and everything. So it wasn't just nursing. So it could be anything that any product to make it better. It could be just the way the classroom was set up pre-pandemic, where the tables and chairs were. We did things like that. So that's where I'm saying it's not just nursing, but it's making your environment more conducive to the person-centered.
And I'd like to add on to that, because when I first started at National University, this was almost 10 years ago, but about 8 years ago, when I was given office space as a faculty member, they didn't have any in the faculty room. They didn't have any space for me. So they put me in the staff room with the assistants to faculty room. And at first it was kind of looked down upon because, faculty and staff in the same room together. Oh my gosh. But with Dr. McNeil's approval, I was able to set up my desk in that area. And within a year of all of us working together, I saw walls get broken down, and I saw the barriers between faculty and staff. I saw us come together, and we coalesced as a group instead of silos. Your faculty, your administration, your staff, that all went away, and now we're a team. And so there are some tangible feelings and experiences that come with this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see. I think we have, okay. How have these initiatives changed in a more online post-pandemic world?
So when COVID occurred and the university pretty much went online, and of course with the merger and that, our Planetree initiative sort of stalled a little bit. Now, Dr. Parker, Dr. Ranke, and myself have stayed very much involved with the Planetree Pilot Education Council, the international group that meets. And so we were maintaining a presence in a leadership role at that level while we waited for what would be the outcome after the merger, and then after COVID, disappeared and our shutdown was elevated back to online in-presence meetings. So more to come, as we invite your participation and we grow this to the goal. So I saw a question from Stephen about social work. And the only reason we didn't have social work involved is because at that time, National University did not have a social work program. But that would have been an incredible partnership as well.
All right. So we're tracking about 5 minutes till time to be together. And I have another question here in the chat. How many years does it take to implement a Planetree program in a business or healthcare organization?
Right, that's a great question for Sharp Memorial, Sharp Coronado. Those were the two first healthcare centers in this country to become Planetree designated. So I'm not sure how many years, but I can tell you what they did do. And so they changed the interior, the environmental interior. They have waterfalls, they have fish aquariums, they have quiet spaces. They do aromatherapy routinely with all patients, at a specified hour. And the environment, from the janitor up, it's recognized that everybody has a part to play in person-centeredness. And so it probably took several years for an institution of that size to embrace it fully. For us, I would say at the academic level, it took us maybe a year, 12 months or so to get it up and flying.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been very informative. I guess the lingering question, which I know we'll have follow-up conversations and discussions, but has there been any link to student success? I know we touched on faculty, post a presentation, students can present, but has there been any link to student success so far as grades and academic advancement, et cetera?
Yeah, we can say definitively that often when young student nurses graduate, it's difficult to find placement because most hospitals would like more seasoned, experienced people. But because the SHARP system was Planetree certified and worked with us and sat on our committees, our students were able to be placed immediately upon graduation. And that is a major accomplishment for young nurses trying to navigate through, our healthcare system.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I don't see any other questions in the chat per se. If there are no lingering questions from our attendees this evening, we'll go ahead and begin to wrap up. Any last minute questions before we say good night and thank you to our wonderful panel?
Well, I just want to say it's been a pleasure speaking with everyone tonight, and we look forward to your participation.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Wishing you a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.